What's the worst thing about living alone? When I was 19, I decided to move to a different state. I moved into a studio apartment, and the apartment didn't have any outside windows. The two windows I did have were looking at an atrium with hardly any sunlight. I had no friends when I first moved, and it was the first time I felt so depressed and sad. I felt like going into that apartment was like going to solitary confinement. So dark, so boring, so lonely. I looked forward going to work because I could talk to someone in person. Loneliness and not having anyone will drive you crazy. While there was a lot I enjoyed about living alone, I got too comfortable with it. I love downtime and tend to be more introverted the older I get. I found that I was barely leaving my place and pushed away people by always saying no to plans. I don't know if I'm making any sense. LOL. It can be a great experience, but better to balance it out and make a point to get out. If I'm in a situation, or I'm living alone again, I'll probably go full cave dweller, and that's not healthy for me. As a recent widower, wandering around looking for my spouse, there's nobody to talk to. I kiss whenever I want. Empty rooms, learning to cook for fewer people, the very quiet house, the emptiness and loneliness that is crushing. Yet at the same time, the idea of another relationship or just dating is daunting. I heard the dating world is a huge shit show. It was hard enough 27 years ago. Plus I am not 22 anymore. I am out of shape, uglier and grumpier. So I'm probably doomed. When I was early 20s, I didn't like living by myself, but I didn't like roommates. I'm now early 50s, and while I love my husband, it's sometimes nice when he is traveling for work. Gives me a chance to appreciate the quiet, or not having to worry if I want the music cranked while cleaning. What is worse though? Now my answer would be a combination of not having someone there in case something happens, or not having someone immediately available to bounce dumb ideas off on. The overwhelming and unbearable noise and booming of the silence. I'm not used to the environment, feelings, sounds, or the looming feeling of dread that has manifested here. I loathe the daylight hours and constantly count down the hours and minutes until darkness falls again. My being here is involuntary, so a lot is that fact alone. But the circumstances dictate it doesn't have to be like yet I am, and therein lies the conundrum. Nothing I love it. No sleepovers except for my grown children. Not a fan of cooking, so I can eat the same thing over and over. I don't like to clean, but I do because I really hate cruds, I do it. Do not pop up at my house. I will just walk and talk you right back to your car. I love you, but solo is my thing. I want a cat, I just don't and do not require you to care. If I have it, then just ask and it is yours, just go away. LOL getting sick. There's no one else to do it. Whatever you need, you gotta be the first person, and often the only person to supply it. ASD time I got really super sick, it was coming out of both ends, and all I could think of is how I had to go get my own cup of water. And I felt so defeated. It was such a I want my mummy moment for me. I missed the emotional support of being in a space with another human. Not being able to open a jar or something similar and getting irrationally frustrated. Sometimes I leave the house when I'm meeting someone and have them zip up my dress cause I couldn't do it and just threw a jacket over to hide it until I met up with them. Weird noses at night. When I can't find something cause I clearly put it somewhere stupid. Being sick and wanting to be taken care of. Chores I don't like doing. 6 months ago I went back to living alone after leaving a 6-year toxic and abusive relationship. I have never appreciated the solitude more. Every day is like a dream. I will never take it for granted again. Yes, sometimes it can get lonely, but it's a small price to pay to not have someone criticizing, freeloading, making messes everywhere he goes, not contributing anything. I might live this way forever. I'm 40 and live alone. I'm getting to that age where I'm starting to wonder what would happen during a medical emergency. I would try to call 911 and stagger out my front step so that I'm in the front yard and hopefully somebody finds me. If I can't do either of those things, they'll just find my decomposing corpse one day when they get curious about why I haven't showed up for work in 2 weeks. I mean, I live alone. And the only bad part is being lonely sometimes. The rest of the time it's fucking awesome. I don't have to bother with someone else's toilet paper preference, them fucking up my dishwasher. My thing. The way that I organize my dishes, trash paraphernalia. There's literally not a single habit I have to worry about because they're all my habits and they're all my fault. Having a household accident and no one can hear you call for help. Example, I just about fell down my basement steps, tear carpeter, but it made me think about breaking a leg and not being able to get up the stairs and not have a way to call 911. I try to take my phone with me when I do laundry now. As I get older, I'm in my 50s. Things like that are going to become more common. Honestly, the sounds, the creaks in the night, the thump you swore you heard. Downstairs something fell for sure. You go check. Everything is as it was. I never considered myself paranoid, but I do seem to wander my house at 3 a.m. with a knife a lot. Girlfriend's staying over and she's on a schedule where she's awake at night, watching TV or listening to music. I sleep like I'm dead. To loneliness, you find out how much of our behavior is motivated by having people around us. Guest visits, your cooking gets lazier, you'll make yourself a fancy dinner every now and then. But it always feels silly, and there's too many dishes. You find it harder to watch movies by yourself. I went through to bad relationships. Both got comfy, slowly to stop contributing, and even got as far as disrespecting me. Feel great to boot both of them out. I enjoy not being with anyone, but I do enjoy having people around. I rent out the other rooms to 2 long-time buddies. Life couldn't be better. No distractions. I'm in cruise control. My fitness is on point. I love living alone. I'm super introverted, like having control of my space, and live close enough to public spaces that I can get some kind of social interaction if I need it. Having to give myself first aid and get myself to the emergency room when I slipped puking and sliced my hand open was terrifying. And I wanted so badly to have someone else here to help. I lived alone in new city I moved to for work. For the first month or so, I didn't know anybody aside from co-workers. I went to get some Sonic for breakfast on a Sunday morning. After I ordered, I realized that was the first time I spoke out loud since Friday evening. I don't know why I remember it so vividly, but it still feels really sad to me. If something bad happens, i.e. you cut yourself and need to go to the ER, there's no one around to call for help to take you there. This happened to me twice, but it's actually no big deal because now I can just get my neighbors, and I've learned that it is possible to drive to the ER with a bloody hand as long as you got one good hand. I have lived alone for years and love it. I'm an introvert and a professional artist. Retired for 4 years. The only thing that concerns me about living alone was getting things done. And I get sick and later in life if my health starts to fail. Fortunately, I will be able to afford domestic and professional medical care at home. Needing to go to urgent care USA when I have a tick on my back or buttocks. It is a 2-hour one-way auto drive to urgent care. If they are closed, then off to the hospital emergency room. Being single can be grand, and not having someone to assist with medical care issues as you age is very daunting. A couple years ago, my wife had to have a total hysterectomy. She's always told me what a nightmare it would have been to have not had me helping her with so many different things through her months of recovering. So I got to go with a situation like that, but without having someone there to help. Looking for your phone and not having anyone to call it for you. Loneliness can be cured by a pet. Now, misplacing something and fighting the urge to say, who took my ... or who moved my ... definitely messes with your head, especially when you know that you left it right there. Nothing, except maybe when you hear scary noises. I weight lift almost daily and run. I'm fit and know every weak point in the body. Yet, I have my sprinklers turn on sometimes, and I quickly grab my gun. That is about it. It happens about 1 to 2 times a year when I get scared. For a woman, definitely, a fear of something happening to you at home alone stalkers following you home, etc. It is more common than you think, and even though I live with my husband, I always make sure to lock the door when he leaves the house, and I'm alone for the day-night. I have a dog, which is great in so many ways. But when I go anywhere for extended periods of time without her, I'm tethered to get back to let her out, feed her, etc. Having roommates to occasionally help with that would be nice, otherwise I much prefer living with just her. Every single dish being dirty every single day. Oh, the fuck is using all the dishes? Is the cat having people over for lunch while I'm at work? I could switch to all paper and plastic and I'd come home from work and everything is in the sink again. It never ends. Not having someone else in the house, so I have the option to talk to them or share a meal. Had a flatmate for a few years and mostly we did our own thing. But we could do our own thing in a shared space with no pressure. Now I have to actually plan to see people. My dumbass only thinking of finishing a horror movie and having to brave a dark hallway to pee all by myself because I'm too fucking short to fix the light and keep forgetting to buy new step stool. I have to solve the problems. Work, and I'm fairly sure it's a fuse box issue. I can't get the fuse out to check the wiring because whoever installed it sunk the whole bloody thing into the wall and sardined the fuckers in there. Aside from the chores and the bills, it's the security for me. Don't go out on a routine, or just tell people whom you really trust that you live alone. Make sure you have, like, a security measure going on for you, and someone you can call during emergencies.